I call the Sweetwater County School District Number 1 Board of Trustees meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Murray, if you would do roll call, please.
Mrs. Cochran,
Here.
Mr. Wright, Mrs. Schumacher, Mrs. Summers, Mrs. Thompson,
Here.
Mrs. Wood. Here. Chair Jellicoe.
Here. And I want to note, we do have a quorum with four trustees present. I also want to take this moment to thank these trustees that are present tonight. This is a critical meeting, and I appreciate you making the time in your schedule to be here for this meeting tonight. Thank you. Even though some of you are out of town or not able to be here in person, thank you for joining us virtually. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Let's see.
Miss Thompson.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And I do believe we have a couple of addendum items, so the approval of the agenda will include those addendum items as well. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. I now entertain a motion to suspend the board meeting and open the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Wood. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Cochran is the
Sorry.
second. Mrs. Cochran is the second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. So now we are in the public hearing for the 2023-2024 budget.
Can you hear me okay, Zach? Hear me okay? Are we good? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, Superintendent McGovern. First of all, I'd like to thank all the players that put a lot of effort into this budget book for the upcoming year, mainly the principals, department heads, support staff, and especially ladies in my office, Gina, Randy, Christy, Jennifer, Nancy. There's a lot of hours that go into this, and I want to thank them for all the time and effort. So what we'll do first is we'll go over the budget book, and I'll just kind of show you how it's organized, and I won't go into great depth, but I'll be happy to answer any questions as we go. And then I'll go over the fiscal update as well as part of the budget hearing. And so Zach, if you could go to page 1415 first. That this is the budget resolution, and this is required by state statute. So when you approve the budget, you're making the resolution to adopt the budget for the district. And also on page 17, that's the assessment of the mill levies. And so when you're adopting the budget, you're also assessing the mill levies that go along with it. And so we have the mill levies for the 25 mills, Sweetwater BOCES, Region 5 BOCES, and the Recreation Board. Okay, then Zach, page 2. This is the general fund. This is the biggest fund that we have. We show total expenditures of about 87.8 million, cash reserves of about 8.9 million. We're carrying over cash of just shy of 6 million. And the total cash that we have to play with is 14.8. If you go to the next page, 2A, That's our cash reserves. And we set aside money so we have enough cash to pay our bills before the money from the state and the property taxes come in. So we have set aside 3 million for minimum requirement, basically, 1.4 for impact aid, 3.4 for future expenditures, and $1 million for contingencies. Any questions on the general fund, the cash reserve? No?
You've mentioned before that we are right at the tipping point of being a recapture district. Do we not, how far in advance do we know that? Do we have to wait till the monies come in and we find out what we get and then we find out what we have to give back or not? How does that work?
Yes, the budget is worked up on an estimate of what we think we're gonna get. We're usually fairly ballpark with that. The true test is when we have to submit the WD 100 to the state of Wyoming. And I don't think they've come out with a new model yet, but that's due the middle of August. So we'll know for sure at that date. As we're sitting here now with the budget, we're gonna be close, but we'll still be an entitlement district. And of course, that could change as we go on through the course of the year, especially if the property tax and
values
the
are up.
ad valorem production taxes,
Okay.
come in higher than we think.
Thank you.
Okay, page 4, these are the special revenue funds. So these are our grant funds mostly. Let's go 4 through 4E. Page 5 is the rec board, and they passed their budget earlier this evening. Some of the big projects of the rec board that they'll be funding are the Rock Springs Junior High turf field, the Overland exterior playground, and also the scoreboard and sound system up at the Farson School. Page number 6. This is usually my favorite page because it's all zeros, which means we have no debt. So that's always good. And the taxpayers, I'm sure, hopefully appreciate that. On page 7 is our capital projects fund. And this serves to fund the spending priorities of the board in the way of technology, transportation facilities, grounds, custodial. There's money set aside for emergency generators. There's also money set aside for technology refreshes for the 5 years. And also it's used to capture the carryover money of the schools that they don't spend as part of their discretionary funds. Well, they carry that over and put it into the capital projects funds, and that way they can buy equipment and other types of allowable expenditures out of that fund instead of having to use their discretionary funds out of their general fund. Okay, page 8. Those are the district projects, and these are mainly the ones that are funded by the rec board. And again, these are the bigger projects, the turf field and the Farson School scoreboard. Page 9, capital construction. This fund captures the money that we get from the Wyoming State Construction Department. So there's still some remaining budget for the satellite high school. I think they're pretty much done, but there's still some remaining budget there in this fund. Page 10, this is the insurance fund, our health insurance fund. And we budget this on a worst case scenario. And what that does is it takes a little bit of the pressure off of the general fund in doing so. So we've budgeted for the aggregate over our stop loss. We have an estimate in there for new lasers that we don't know about now, but could happen through the course of the year. We also have about 5 years of a premium stabilization is what we call it. And that's our target, that 5 years is target. And how that works is that in the general fund, we budget up to a 15% increase in case we have a bad claims year. Well, the general fund bears about 6% of that increase, and the health insurance fund bears about 9%. So if our costs are up over that 6%, then we'll transfer money from the health insurance fund into the general fund to help cover that. And what it does is it makes the expenditures for health insurance more predictable out of the general fund. and it shifts the risk of a bad claims year over to the insurance fund. And so over the years, this will pay dividends mainly because the 2 times that we've gone to mediation have been over health insurance. And so hopefully now that we have a reserve that, if we're going to have a bad year, we can see that coming a few years away instead of that current year. Because a lot of times what you see is that if districts have a big increase in their health insurance, then that gives on the salary and the benefit side, so they're not able to give as large of raises if they have a bad insurance year. So it helps smooth out those claims and make them easier to estimate. For the medical claims part, UMR is pricing us out about a little bit less than a 4.5% increase. And for us, I think that's probably a pretty good rate. We did increase the deductible for the stop loss up to $275,000. So even with that, our stop loss insurance went up by 26%. And that one is a double-edged sword, because if you go too low on your stop loss, you do get money back for when people go over that year. But then what they do is they jack up the price the following year. So there's a fine balance in there that you try and find. Also, what was new is the plan design for the 1,500 high deductible plan. That was moved up to 1,600, but I don't think we're talking big bucks there. Overall, the expected costs are about the same, but what happens is we're spreading that same cost over fewer people, and so the premium rates per person usually go up. And again, we're proposing 4.45% increase, and you'll see those later on in the health insurance line item as well. So those provisional rates. There were some line items that went over that, but we're proposing to cap those increases at that 4.45, so everybody has the same increase in their premiums. There were some items that went down. The Medicare supplement plan went down pretty good. The over 65 retiree dental went down just slightly. Some of the increases were the over 65 retirees. And again, that one was capped at a 4.45% increase with the provisional rates. Other items, the $1,000 PPO is sunsetted for new hires beginning September 1. And so we've also set money aside to help subsidize the over 65 premiums until all of the people have left that. And so we have about 18 years of a premium subsidy set aside for that if we need it. And so we've got that covered.
Okay.
Dental is up slightly, vision is up a little bit, and most of those are due just because of the usage and a little bit of inflation that goes with that. Okay, any questions on the insurance fund?
Any questions? Please proceed.
Okay, page 13, Zach. These are the pupil activity funds. We call them the student activity funds. That they're held on behalf of the student groups and activities. And then if you could jump to page 33, this is the cash flow projection. And so we estimated based on how the revenue came in over the prior year with the adjustments that we know at the time. For example, a tax shortfall grant, and those are given one time in October, so we baked those in. And also new again are the ad valorem production taxes, and these are assessed on a monthly basis. And so these could swing quite a bit during the course of the year just based on the prices and the production of the mines. And so that one's a very difficult line item to estimate, but we've taken the best shot that we could with the information that we have at the time. And we'll monitor that throughout the course of the year. Okay, that's pretty much it for the budget book. Any questions before we move on to the fiscal profile?
Any questions, trustees? Hearing none, we'll move on.
Okay, moving on. There we go. Thank you, Zach. So what you're looking at and have seen before, especially during the preliminary budget, the top half are the revenues and the bottom half are the expenditures. From left to right, the first column under the budget is last year's budget. The second column in is the current year's budget, the one that will be adopted tonight. And then the third column over and the fourth column over are the future years from here on out. If you cut to the chase, we're looking at a balanced budget this year, of course, and we're projecting a balanced budget for next year, which I'm happy to be able to say that. The third year out, the 25 through 26, we do have some work to do. We are showing a deficit, but this is the assumption that nothing will change, but we know that it will because, for example, if our ADMs continue to shrink, our workforce will shrink accordingly. So we do have some work to do, but we've got a couple of years to figure that out. So if you start at the top, our ADMs are down from last year by about 173 ADMs. We did get an external cost adjustment, a pretty hefty one from the legislature this year. And so the money that we'll get from the foundation, we're up about 3.4 million, even though our ADMs are going down there. They're kicking in the external cost adjustment. So the dollars per kid we get are more. This year also, we're looking at a tax shortfall grant of a little over $1 million, and that'll come in October. So that'll help cash flow wise. So this year we're looking at a total revenue budget of about 81.8. On the expenditure side, what's built into those are, from what we talked about from the preliminary budget, the steps and the lanes for all staff, the certified, classified, administrative, the raise to the base, so the $2,500 for the teachers, and then the corresponding raise to the bases for the classified and the administrators. What's new from the preliminary budget, there's 15 full-time SPED pairs that will partially help over at the Overland Early Childhood Center. There's also the assistant superintendent position and an HR generalist, and also the special education aides were moved up to a P5 level on the salary schedule, which hopefully has helped with recruiting those positions. Okay, moving on to the reserve. I've talked about those already before, but we've got $3 million for a fund balance, minimum fund balance, impact aid of about 1.4. A reserve for future expenditures about 3.4, 3.5, and $1 million for contingencies. Ending cash is about 14.8 million. And to put that in the perspective, the 15% of the guarantee is about 9.6, 9.7. So we're over the 15, but we're still under the 30.
And the 30 is kept for what, when does the 30 sunset?
I think it sunsets with the 27-year budget.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah, so we still have a few years, and hopefully that between now and then, they'll figure out what they want to do, because 15% is just way
It's
too
not
low.
enough. It's not enough.
No, it's not enough.
No.
Okay, may I entertain any questions?
Any questions? Kari or Stephanie, any questions?
No.
I'm going to ask because I attended a School Boards Association Board of Directors meeting this last weekend, and one of the subjects that came up was the increases in property insurances. And I know I paid mine yesterday, and it was up 29%. So I'm kind of curious about what the costs are, what we're realizing as increases in costs, because it's across the board. I mean, it's just all the natural disasters, it's the fires, it's the hurricanes, it's the flooding, and insurance is risk sharing, and we're sharing in the risk nationwide. So how is that impacting us?
You bet. We just received the invoice today, and we're looking at about a 14% increase overall. Part of that is bringing the new daycare on, and that was 3.5% or 4%. So
Okay.
we're sitting right around a 10% increase for our lines of insurance in total. And from what I understand, that's pretty much the industry
norm.
standard for our area. That 10% is just right right in there. Most of that increase is due to the property liability side, and that is because the insurance company now is having the district estimate the contents of the building at 20%, whereas before the value was based on between 2 and 6%. So that's the reason for the big jump for us this year. Now, there are some things that we can do to mitigate those costs, but in order to underwrite us the first time out, they're going 20% all the way across the board for each of the building contents. But then after they issue our policy, we can go back and say, okay, for this building is 20% still reasonable. Can we, lower it and still be fully insured? That kind of thing, which we will do. And then if there's a return in premium, they'll make that up through the year. And the contents are based on the valuation, and we have current valuations of our buildings, so those estimates should be pretty good. Our blanket risk, so if the worst should happen and we have just a huge disaster, earthquake or something, and our whole district is leveled, the blanket for that is a little over 370 million. So things would have to get pretty bad before we would be even approaching that blanket limit. And for the buildings, they're insured for their replacement cost. And so, whatever it costs to build them, that's what the insurance company would cover.
Which is one of the things that we were advised to make sure we have replacement cost in there because of and to have current appraisals or, what the buildings are worth, so that if
valuation.
something should happen, that it's replaced, because otherwise you may only get 80% of a building or something like that if it's not replacement cost. So those are the levels that we're looking at. Okay. Are there any kind of property insurance caps? Do we have any caps or anything like that, or?
No, not really. The blanket cap is, what I talked about.
The total for the district.
Yep. And the other cap would really be the replacement cost, but they're gonna insure for what it costs to replace it. So I guess technically it's a cap, but they're gonna pay what it takes to.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, Stephanie or Kari, Angelica? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have not received any written comments in the public comment. Are there any in-person comments on the budget? Any in-person comments on the budget? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to reconvene in the regular meeting. It's been moved by Angelica. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Okay, public comments, communications and correspondence. Guidelines for, if a member of the public initiates specific complaints or charges against an employee in order to protect the employee's rights to privacy due process, the board will only hear those complaints or charges in closed session. The board encourages concerned individuals to file complaints using the appropriate district complaint procedure and appropriate forms, which can be obtained from the district's website. As per policies B, DDH, and KD, please limit your comments to the board to one time. If your comments have been previously submitted in writing, please refrain from addressing the board a second time. Written comments will be posted to the agenda in the written public comments section below. Written public comments must be received by 1:00 p.m. on the day of the board meeting and will be available for the public and trustees to view, but will not be read aloud at the board meeting. Policies B, DDH, and KD continue to state questions asked by the public shall, when possible, be answered immediately by the chairman or referred to staff members present for reply. Questions requiring investigation shall be referred to the board or administrative staff for consideration and later response. We have received no written public comments. I would also like to remind the public about our reality versus rumors versus reality and answers to the public comment on our website. So if we don't answer questions that are brought forward at the meeting, then that's where we'll follow up with those individuals and also post the answers on that site. Is there any in-person public comment? Any in-person public comment? Any in-person public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the treasurer's reports. Who do we have that's going to do? Mr. Duncan, could you please do the treasurer's report, please?
Okay, starting with the general fund, we have a beginning balance of $27,171,282.09. We have revenue received during the month of $7,759,405.42. Transfers in $29,500,000 even. Intra-bank transfers in $1,490,728.18. Warrants written during the month, $18,079,459.26. Interbank transfers out, $29,500,000 even. Intrabank transfers out, $3,460,000 even, $460,000 even. Ending cash balance, $14,881,956.43. Treasurer's report for the lunch program. Beginning balance, $1,184,316.82. Have interest of $1,517.07. Revenue of $6,295.76. Federal reimbursement of $117,461.43. FFVP grant reimbursement, $9,734.11. Operating transfers, there were none. Reimbursement to the general fund, $671,829.79. Bank transfers for the FFVP grant, $9,734.11. Warrants written against RSNB, $20, for an ending balance of $637,741.29. And for Head Start, beginning balance, $105,080.96. Deposits of $423,632.59. Warrants cleared, $427,642.49 for an ending bank balance of $101,071.06.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's reports for the general fund, school lunch program, and Head Start program. It's been moved by Ms. Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cochran. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Item number 10, the warrants. Mr. Duncan.
You bet. We have three check runs. The last one is an addendum item. But for checks 160906 through 160939 for the amount of $300,632.18. Checks 160940 through 161147. Total amount $1,136,559.72. And the addenda item, checks 161148 through 161356 for an amount of $810,472.99. For payroll, net payroll numbers 129,352 to 129,368 in the amount of $21,624.05. Numbers 129,369 to 129,375 in the amount of $10,915.62. And numbers 786,424 to 786,621 in the amount of $516,486.54. Addenda item, numbers 129,376 through 129,378 for $3,185.50. And check number 129,376 for $1,303.12 was voided. Also, we have checks 375, 1078 374, 5370, 374, 6638, 374, 6916. There's a direct debit for a wire transfer fee, another direct debit for a cashier's check, addenda items, check number 375, 5291, 375, 5721, and a transfer in process for the rec board from WGIF to RSNB that should hit tomorrow.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the district warrants and payments and release those payments.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Wood. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are matters about which the board has governing policies, implementation of which is delegated to the superintendent. They will be enacted in one motion in the order listed below. There will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the Board of Trustees votes on the motion unless members of the board request specific items to be held and discussed separately and/or removed from this section. Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. A, approval of the minutes from the June 12th, 2023 board workshop. B, approval of the minutes from the June 12th, 2023 regular meeting. C, approval of the minutes, part 1 from the June 12th, 2023 executive session. D, approval of the minutes, part 2 from the June 12th, 2023 executive session. E, approval of the minutes from the June 26th, 2023 special meeting. F, approval of the minutes from the June 26th, 2023 executive session. G, facilities, approval of the purchase for Rock Springs High School Central Kitchen refrigeration units. H, facilities, post approval of the bid for Rock Springs Junior High parking lot project. I, finance, approval of the 2023-2024 budget. J, general board business, approval of the Wyoming High School Activities Association district representatives. K, human resources, approval of personnel recommendations. And notice that there are some addendum items there as well. L, technology, approval to renew BrainPop licensing. That concludes the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Item number 12, 2023-2024 handbooks. A, approval of the K-12 handbook changes for the 2023-2024 school year. Mrs. Superintendent McGovern, do you want to address that, please?
No, it's ready for that one. for
Pardon
you.
me?
Nicole is.
Okay, Mrs. Bolton.
Good evening, Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, and members of the board. There really aren't too many changes coming through on the handbook other than the calendars, times, the start and end times, the lunch times, changing some names. The biggest change going through is that Rock Springs High School and Rock Springs Junior High have decided to match their eligibility policy for sports the same as Farson, where it's a no F policy in order to remain eligible to participate in sports and activities. We hear feedback from the public and we hear lots of comments about high standards for kids and holding them accountable. And the consensus was that if we're going to say you can have 2 or 3 Fs, 2 Fs really, I think is the most that they could have, then we're giving kids permission to fail. And so we're upping that standard, and we're going to hold our in-town kids to the same standard that our Farson kids are held to, and that will be a no-F policy. However, there is a provision in there that obviously last year's handbook eligibility rules for last semester will apply for eligibility going into this semester. We can't throw that standard on them without them knowing. But then in spring, the fall semester's eligibility in order to participate in spring sports will be a no-F policy. If you have more questions on that, I would ask that we bring Mr. Supas up as he could speak to it a little bit more.
Well, and my understanding is that the list will go out probably Monday or Tuesday of the week. And to, you know, ask for that input from the teachers. And then the students are held to that level for that week. Is that accurate?
I'm going
And
to
then-
have,
and-
is it okay if Mr.
Sure,
Supas? I
sure,
just don't want to
sure.
inform
I just want to
you. He knows it
clarify.
much better.
I just want to clarify.
Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern. The eligibility procedure at Rock Springs High School, we pull eligibility Sunday night.
Okay.
And all those students that are hitting on the eligibility list, there is a meeting, the list is given to all the head coaches during that current season. The coaches are notified of the students that are currently ineligible at that time on Sunday night. Monday during the day, the athletic director brings those students in and discusses what's going on, figuring out what's going on, what do we need to do, and then they have until Tuesday to get that cleared. And then that's when that sets for that next week. So we are giving them plenty of time. We have plenty of resources. You know, you provide pressure with support. So we're upping the level of support that we're going to provide for those students with some mandatory study halls after school and some creative scheduling within our power hour to help those students out. So we know that this is a big step, and it is a change in the culture at Rock Springs High School. But I think it drives home the fact that we have student athletes, not athletes. So we are holding them to a higher standard. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions? Please proceed.
You'll see that the 912 cell phone policy or procedure is also in there. Nothing is changing about that, except that the order of which some of the paragraphs were stated, because it was confusing people. That is the first offense, the warning that the teacher gives, or is the first offense when it goes to the principal. So we just reordered those paragraphs so that it made more sense and was clear.
Okay.
Those were the big changes.
Okay. Trustees, any questions? Then I'd entertain a motion to approve the K-12 handbook changes for the 2022. Shouldn't that be 2023, 2024 school year?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make that change to the agenda. It should be the 2023, 2024 school year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cochran. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Item number 13, health insurance premiums. Approval of health insurance premiums as proposed by Sweetwater County School District Number 1. Mr. Duncan.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, Chair Jellicoe, Board of Trustees, Superintendent McGovern. Big picture on the medical side, UMR is calculating an increase of about 4.45%, and we're proposing to have those the same as the provisional rates. So we're just passing on the increase that they're calculating. If we were to catch up to their fully charged rates, we would have to increase our current rates by 8 to 10%, but I think we're okay just passing on the increase from the past year since we have such good reserves in our health insurance fund. I think that the health insurance fund can accept that risk.
Help mitigate those costs for our employees.
Yes, it does help keep those down. The Medicare supplement type plan, this went down actually quite a bit, about 20%, and that's based on the historical claims for that group of over the past 24 months. So they've had a good history, and so their rates are going down. The dental rates are up about 2%, so a little bit of change, not a lot of change. vision rates are up about 11% for actives and under 65 retirees, and about 18% for over 65 retirees. And this is mainly due to the plan design that we raised the max for the reimbursement for for the vision. And also people are using it more, and also the cost of inflation. So that's what accounting for those larger increases for vision.
How are we doing as far as educating our staff about the benefits that they have?
I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that.
Yeah, I guess that's something that we need to, Mrs. Bolton, maybe?
The insurance committee had brought on the insurance specialist. Alicia Akers was the insurance specialist for last year. She made visits to schools, made sure that there was a name with a face. She was very interactive with all of the schools, the retirees, and she very much promoted things over email and any of our communication ways. And we're going to have to send out another survey or something to kind of see where we had sent out a needs survey before for the position. And so we want to send out another needs survey to see if some of the needs they had expressed before are
Being
being
fulfilled?
yeah. Mhm. And if there's some other areas that they want the district or the individual that is in that position to
Help educate.
focus on.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. A benefit package is only a benefit package if you use it.
That is true. That's true.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the health plan insurance premiums for the 2023-2024 plan year as proposed by Sweetwater County School District Number 1? It's been moved by Mrs. Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign? Did I hear Mrs. Cochran?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, item number 14, transportation. Bus routes for the 2023-2024 school year. Approval of the school bus routes for the 2023-24 school year.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent McGovern. I would like to take a moment and thank Amanda Vincent and Josh Henderson for putting routes together, as they did a terrific job, and all of the over-the-road drivers did an awesome job with driving the routes and getting the times. This year, we have a total of 16 additional routes in the morning and 22 additional routes in the afternoon. We were able to do this to multi-tier routing. All the 2023-24 bus routes have been driven by the over-the-road drivers and are on time to their designated schools. Route drivers will have 2 days to learn their new routes during their training starting August 10th. There will be no need for student registration for transportation this year, as we had mentioned in previous board meetings. Transportation will continue using bus characters, as this worked out wonderfully for students, parents, and staff. Once the board approves the routes, they will be put on the school district website on the main page under informational links, or they can be located under departments, transportation, and bus routes. The Overland daycare routes were presented for your review. These routes are not part of the public posted bus routes. Is there any questions?
Any questions, trustees? So with the preschool and the daycare, they provide their own transportation?
Yes, no,
Because transportation is only reimbursed at the K-12 level, right?
yes.
Okay, okay, because, yeah, transportation is only reimbursed at 100% from K-12. So I'm asking about the daycare and the preschool that, and actually Head Start.
The daycare, the preschool, and them, they will provide their own transportation. We will pick up the students that are going to the schools
Okay,
and taking them back after school's out.
okay, so if they're of K-12 age, then.
They will
we-
get
then we take-
transportation
they
from the
get
daycare.
transportation.
from the
Okay,
daycare to the school.
that's what I wanted to clarify. So,
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the bus routes for the 2023-2024 school year.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cochran. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Nutrition Services, item number 15, meal prices beginning in the 2023-2024 school year. This is an addendum item. And we have preschool and daycare meal prices beginning for the 2023-24 school year, and also snack prices beginning for the 2023-24 school year. Please proceed.
Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, Board of Trustees. We have requested a price increase for meals. The pre-K through elementary would be $3.25 for a lunch. Middle and junior high would be $3.50. High school would be $3.75. And for breakfast, the cost of a breakfast for elementary, pre-K through elementary would be $2.10. The middle and junior high would be $2.30. The high school would be $2.50. And as always, the reduced price meals are for lunch, 40 cents for all reduced price students, reduced eligible students, and breakfast for reduced eligible students is 30 cents. Snacks would be $1 for paid students and 15 cents for reduced students, and that's throughout all age groups as well. Again, as always, I encourage families to complete the online meal applications. We do have our new software system up and running, so people are able to do that. We have the new link that's readily accessible as well. I'll be sending out a parent square with additional information with all of this as well. I just wanted to wait until, the board approves this information before I send something out.
So I will make my plea again, that please, parents out there, guardians, if your situation, your family situation is such that you think you might qualify, or even if you're not sure, please fill out the application. They can do it online. Can they also do it in person if that's more convenient?
Yes, so that's what I was just going to mention as well. So at this time, the CAB, the Central Administration Building, is the only place to complete the online form. We do have an online form that parents can fill out at home via, iPad or whatever they have, and then you can print it out if they have a printer. So anyway, that's something that can be done as well. I know a lot of people don't have printers, but we do have paper copies here at the CAB. All of the secretaries at every single school will have the paper copies as well. So you can do it on paper or online.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Please
Yes.
consider, we know that there's a need out there. And, we've held off with these increases in lunches and breakfasts longer than many other districts around the state. We've held off as long as we can, but everybody's noticing the increase in costs at the grocery store, and that increase is passed on to us as well. So please, if there's any possibility, take the time to fill out the form and perhaps receive the reduced. Again, it is totally anonymous. It's probably as anonymous as it has ever been with the system that we have now. I can remember many years ago when I was going through school, that's decades ago, kids with reduced or free lunches had different colored tickets. That is not, there is nothing like that anymore. It is completely anonymous. No one knows the status except those people in the office that deal on a confidential basis. So please consider filling out the forms and perhaps taking advantage of some reduced prices.
Yes, and another friendly reminder as well is there are families, if you're somewhat new to the process, the form is required to be completed
Every
every school year. It's
Yeah.
not just once,
So
it's every
those of
single
you that
school year.
have filled it out last year,
Yes.
unfortunately, you have to fill it out again.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the nutrition services meal prices for the 2023-2024 school year?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cochran. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Item number 16 is good of the order. Anyone with anything they'd like to mention as far as good of the order? Anyone? I have a couple of items. I sent you an email, forwarded you an email from the Wyoming School Boards Association regarding the vote with COSBA and NSBA the discussion we had last month. The COSBA vote, there was only one no vote. What we did is we took votes on each of them individually. And COSBA, there was only one no vote. For the NSBA, there were 5 yes votes to remain with NSBA, 12 no votes, and two people that didn't vote. So WSBA will become a member, or stay a member, I should say, of COSBA, which is the Consortium of State School Board Associations, and not with NSBA. NSBA does put out a national connection, which is available to individual districts. So that'll be a decision up to each district if they want to continue with that or not. Second item is a law conference is coming up August 3rd and 4th. Kind of the last reminder, if anybody's interested in that. That's in a couple of weeks. So if that's something of interest, please contact Miss Marie. And finally, the regional fall roundup schedule has been scheduled. It's very different from what it has been. We have been fortunate in being able to go to Green River the last years that I could remember, as long as I can remember. And so please mark on your calendars, trustees, Wednesday, September 6th, we will be going to Pinedale, which is a little longer drive. But we'll have some more information on that. The fall roundup is WSBA's meeting with local districts. So we'll be with Jackson, Teton County. I believe it's Sublet 1 and Sublet 9, which is Pinedale and Big Piney. And so it'll be an opportunity to meet with some different people and have some discussions around some of the WSBA initiatives, and also in preparation for their fall conference coming up in November. So kind of set that date on your calendar, and I'll get you more information on that as we get closer. Any other good of the order? Hopefully everyone's having a good summer vacation. It is going, and almost gone. So, okay. Sure, Superintendent McGovern.
Thank you, Chair Jellicoe. Just very quickly, I want to extend a thank you to Scott Duncan and Gina Harvey and their entire department for the work that they've been doing on this budget. What you saw tonight, how smooth it is so many hours that goes into this behind that. And not only that, the work in June to close out one fiscal year and then open up another year is a lot of work, hours and hours. So I want to extend a thank you to both of them, and then also to their departments. They're a great staff. So thank you.
And I'll piggyback on that. Thank you very much from the board as well. Some extenuating circumstances this year has made that work much more difficult, along with other things that were going on. So thank you very much to the entire staff, the entire department. Item number 17, new business. 17A is the vacancy notice as of today, July 19th, 2023. B is the June 2023 Head Start Governing Board and Policy Council monthly report. So those are both there for your information. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mrs. Wood to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Again, making the time tonight.